Ta-da, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. And welcome to my channel. Welcome to Realities of Gigging, Part 5. And it's been a little bit while since I played those pieces. Here's the thing, what happens with me. My thumbnail on the very corner, usually I get this little notch when it wants to start breaking, or it starts to slip. The problem with that is when I'm doing my tremolos, let me show you what the tremolo is. You know, when you're doing this, so the thumb is hitting the bass note, and it's actually arpeggiating the rest of the chords, while the finger plays the melody on the top string. Now, when I do my roscados, which is that type of technique, I gotta be careful, because if I go too far down and I hit this part of the nail, it's gonna take that little notch that's trying to break, and it's gonna make it run, and the nail pops, and then you get uneven tone. When you play the combination with flesh and nail, it becomes uneven, unless you're meaning to do that, or if you're doing anything like bossa nova type, where you'll be playing off the pads of your fingers, you know. Has a definitely a place for that. But if you pop the nail here and then you have your fingernails, you get it very uneven when you do your tremolo. Right now you're hearing that pretty solid because I got the nail there. So that's why sometimes I have these little issues. Plus, playing outside down here, when you're outside in extreme heat, your fingers swell, everything expands, so it becomes a little bit of an issue. But Oh, another thing too is these strings I just put on the other day. Yeah, and the last time I changed the strings on this guitar was back in March 15th or 16th because we had a gig that weekend. So I used Diodario. These are hard tension. I go between the hard tension and the extra hard tension because I like the tightness of the string. Not only when I'm doing my tremolo, but when I'm doing my so I don't like the strings to wobble so much. And I usually wait a day or two to make sure my tuning is stable. And then I start trimming down here and up here for a neater appearance. If I do it right away and I go to pull the string and it actually unravels for whatever reason because I didn't put enough wrap around, then I don't have enough string to go back and do it. Here's my tip. You could wrap them around. You don't have to tie anything down here or up by the tuners. If you start tying things, it's gonna hold. But what's gonna happen is when you need to change your strings, oh, is it a problem? Oh, is it a headache to change them? So, my suggestion is don't do it. How I do this, it works once they're locked in tune, they stay in tune. And I've been playing this style of music professionally for the last 25 years. So, and I got interested in when I was younger, of course. I started playing guitar at 1974. I was 11 years old. So, I also want to give another shout out, really quick, to an artist. I was just watching her live stream a little while ago. Her channel is Watercolor Wizardry, and she's a great artist, and she goes through all her watercolor paintings and that, and she's just a great gal, man, great artist. What I've been discovering with the world of fine art, it kind of takes me back to, well, I started drawing when I was a kid, and then I got involved in playing guitar at 11 years old, and then the art kind of went to the wayside, and the music took the foreground, But I was still drawing a little bit while I was still playing in that, and then here and there, very sporadically, very sporadically. So just recently getting back into it after about a 50-year hiatus, if you want to say, is quite interesting. And the world of fine art, what I like about it is no one's at each other's throats. No one's trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that. It's music has gotten so. I mean, it's always been cutthroat, but it's just been. People don't have to act like that. They really don't. They sometimes will get on the rude side to become like I don't know, a shock jock on their YouTube channel or something. There's no reason for that. I don't like swearing. I really don't. I get mad. It comes out. I'm only human, but I really don't like to swear, and especially on my YouTube channel. And I feel very embarrassed by some of the videos I have where I am dropping an F-bomb here or there, and I really do. I don't like doing that. Don't like doing that at all. So, but yeah, Watercolor Wizardry. She's a great artist, man. Great. The picture that I put up for a thumbnail sketch or post, or whatever, was something that I had finished. This, and what it is, it's a combination of oil pastel on watercolor paper, cold pressed watercolor paper, 140 pound. The brand is Artist Loft. You get that at Michael's. What I did is I took the oil pastel and wiped it with a paper towel to give it that, for backdrop, and then everything else is done with the Prismacolor colored pencil, except the signing, was with my little. I got couple of ink pens. They're like fine tip, fine point ink markers, good for fine detailing and that. What got me back interested into the world of art? I was watching a couple of these videos, and I'm watching these people do their acrylic painting and the mixed media painting and their artwork and all that. and all of a sudden these pictures are appearing, especially when they speed up the camera, and these picture appears. And what it reminded me of when I was in high school, I had from my sophomore year to my senior year, I had 3 years of graphic arts, which is print shop. And back then, in the 70s and 80s, we had we had a dark room, and we had to develop the film, and then take that to burn for the printing press, the plate, burn the plate to put on the AB Dick 360 printing press. And my teacher, he had, which was back then a new camera. I don't know how many years it was out, but it was a new camera called the Canon AE1. But watching the film develop and watching these pictures appear was like magic, man. It was really cool. So that's what the world of fine art kind of reminds me of. I'm watching these people do these paintings and drawings, and these pictures are appearing, man, like magic. It's like really cool. And then also, it's great therapy, especially after I went through the AFib thing. And thank God I'm all right now. You know, I still got my little cardio mobile. I do my testing to make sure my heart rate is good and that. But what I wanted to talk about with this today's topic was branding yourself, but like from a performer's point of view. My wife, Deb, she could give much more in detail from the business side of it because she's very, very knowledgeable on that, very knowledgeable. But maybe you don't hear too much from the performer's point of view, which I think is a good idea that people will hear. It's a good idea to hear because, we're the ones that got to do it. So when you're performing, I gotta take it's here. When you're playing, there's all kind of things you have to take in consideration, right? But number one is you gotta like what you're gonna be doing. When you could do different styles of music, it comes in your benefit. Not only when you could play different styles of music, but when you kind of hone in and zone in on the ones that really appeal to you, uh, it makes it that much more pleasurable to play. You know what I mean? Because you like what you're doing. So if you're not going to be doing the cover bar band scene, and that's maybe really not your thing, you tried it and you're like, it's not really my thing. I don't really like that scene, or the song is not my liking. There are other avenues. Excuse me, friends. And this is where you could start to take a look at what your options are. Now, this style of music, like I said, been playing for a very, very long time, but 25 years professionally. You get hired for a lot of weddings and a cocktail hour. But we also get, stuff like that. We also get hired for corporate events. And even with the wedding events, but also the corporate events, is that you could actually start to play the music that you really like. And if you're writing music that's in that style, well, this is where you could start to sell yourself. And this is where you can start to, brand yourself, because now you're becoming known for this. And what you have to realize is that there's so many opportunities other than just playing at, bars. It was really strange. I remember quite a few years back. Well, actually, before I met my wife. And this one lady says to me, because I don't sing, I never sing. It's not my thing. That's all. Well, if you don't sing, how are you going to play? Well, if you don't play at the bars, where are you going to play at? They don't understand there's so much more. That same person will go to a concert hall or a theater to see their favorite artist play. Well, usually concert halls and theaters are not bars. They'll sell liquor there, but they're not a bar. It's a show. So you get some people that are like that. They don't understand. That's fine. I'm not knocking it. But what happens is a lot of people in music, they start to think, well, that's the only place to play. And quite frankly, there was a time when people were going out and they were supporting live music, original music as well. That was a big thing. And to be part of that scene was great, man. Oh, that was great. Um, but the when we were doing the ticket sale gigs, those were at like banquet halls. For us, it was instead of a dinner and a show, it was a luncheon and a show, and we were doing really good. Now, here's what you have to think about and consider when you're going to brand yourself. Because let's say you're not, unless you are branding yourself to be like, say, like KTEL Records. Remember, if anyone old enough, remember KTEL Records, or let's say the top hits. And by all means, you could do this. But let's say that's not your thing, and now you become a little bit where, okay, you're kind of a specialty act, so it become like a narrow market. That's usually what the thought process is, because right away people are thinking only about the restaurants and the bars, but they kind of forget about all these other opportunities. And this is where branding yourself could become in your benefit. You can brand yourself as, if you're not going to do the tribute act, well, you could brand yourself as doing a stylistic type of approach. For instance, you could, if you're doing jazz fusion, and what you could do is advertise it as that, because there is an audience for that. There's an audience for pop music, rock, country, metal, blues. There's an audience for everything. You just have to find those people. You know, what you could do if that is going to be your niche. Let's say you go in the category of jazz fusion. And the reason why I say that is because normally instrumental music always gets pushed to the wayside, from the mainstream. However, the underground scene, what we used to call underground, is very much alive and well. Or let's say even if you wanted to sell yourself as shred metal, instrumental guitar, rock, shred music. And the world around us, mainstream, maybe that's not the hottest thing as we know. But take a look around your area and even, mingle with like coworkers or, friends that you know. When the shred guitar was popular, when when it was kind of coined the phrase shred, maybe mid to late 1980s, you're talking 40 years ago. So if a person like myself was in their 20s, now we're in our 60s. If someone was in their 30s 40 years ago, now they're in their 70s. And what has happened is that people will still go out if they know they could go out to find it, and that they want to kind of relive their youth a little bit. Maybe they could do it every weekend, but they will go out and do it. And let's say you have this niche idea where, man, I want to go out and I want to do what I really like to do. Well, it's going to cost money, so just be prepared for that. But maybe not as much as like if you go rent out, try to rent out a huge, arena, where you talk about, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, and having lots of high insurance. It is a good idea to have insurance, reliability insurance. I'll tell you that. All you have to do is you could type it and you could Google it, find out liability insurance for musicians, for performing musicians, and there's going to be companies that's going to pop up. It's a real good idea to have that, because when you could show proof that you have insurance and the venue that you want to rent out, they're like, okay, you're legit. Okay, you got what we're going to really need for you to have. And as long as you're respectful to the guy's room or banquet hall, or because there's some standalone buildings that are advertised as banquet halls. Or even if you want to go to the local VFW and talk with the owner and say, hey, listen, I got this idea, I'd like to try this. Would you rent out the room for me? And I got the insurance. I'm not gonna say all the time they're gonna say yeah, but the ones who do, as long as you're respectful to that venue, well, there you go. Now, a good idea to do is, a lot of people have this notion that I got a music act, so I'm gonna advertise in a local music paper. You know, I know back in Illinois we had the Illinois Entertainer. Down here we have some other papers. The Illinois Entertainer used to be at every place. The local one that's down here, surprisingly, is not. Guitar Center doesn't carry it, and a few other music stores do not carry it. And it's kind of an all-in-one type of magazine where they'll have theater and fine art and dining, but they have a music section. Okay, kind of interesting how music stores don't really carry it, but I digress. But it is more expensive. If you could find a local newspaper that's everywhere, you're gonna you'll save a few more dollars, and the advantage of that is, since it's everywhere, you can have more access to people, reading it. When we advertise, now they do a lot of online. It's called the Florida Weekly. Deb puts up the ads. She's got, I think, her ad for our art walk on this Friday, and Saturday we have a gig at Fort Myers Beach at the Diamond Head Resort. Just recently, I think the beginning of this year, they stopped putting the ads in the newspaper, so that's a little extra cost, and it's because a lot of people are doing things online. But we have had our picture and our profile on in their newspaper, and right away, and it started traffic started because people will read through it. And again, you have to think in terms of this. Again, so I do a lot of the jazz fusion stuff in like this style of music, classical flamenco style, but we still have our on the back burner our Guitar Heroes thing. We haven't done anything with it for a while, but we still have it on the back burner, and that's kind of celebrating the guitar legends. It's called Guitar Heroes with an S, by the way. So the video game they call Guitar Hero. See, sometimes you got to use a little strategy to avoid copyrights and all that. Anyways, so that type of show is a guitar show, and I was doing playing music from the legends from the '60s, '70s, and '80s. So, covered a lot of ground there. Very specific niche. Now, and of course, it's more rock oriented. Of course, but like I said, people from that era are our age. They're already retired, so they kind of want to relive their youth. They look into the local newspaper, like, hey, check this out, man. There's this guy doing this gig, and he's selling the tickets X amount. We can afford this. Let's go check it out. A lot of people, not everybody, but there's a lot of people, a huge group of people, huge portion of people, that they don't want to go to the bar scene. Or if they do, they want to see something early. They don't want to be out late at night. Not everybody's like that, but there is a lot of people that are like that. So think in terms about that audience as well. Now you can target them. And again, you'll have to, put up some money. That's why it's good to have other sources of income, but put up some money. And the great thing is that, you get a chance to do what you really want. If you're not into playing covers, if you're into playing covers, you want to do a tribute, and that's fine. You can still do this. But let's say you're just not into that whole scene. You have something very specific that you'd like to do. The world did not come to an end because you're not playing at every single bar, every hour of every day of the week. So the reason I say to some people, they wonder like, gee, where can I play? They only think one thing. They don't think about these other options. So again, having multiple streams of income, renting out the place, it's your show your way because it's your money. That's the beauty of it. You have the kind of the creative upper hand. If you're a creative person, you have that upper hand. Another thing that you could do if you want to brand yourself in this form, you could be like a service type of a musician or a niche market, where let's say you're doing music as music therapy. Now, there's a lot more that's involved in that. Maybe you do have to have a special license, but maybe you don't. Not to say you have to be a medical doctor, you just have to know what you're doing, your craft. So let's say you go to approach a place that has, for instance, for the visual impaired. What is happening on the scene? So if you have, like, we have a place that's down the street called Lighthouse. And before the hurricane, when I was driving for Goodwheels, I would take a couple of clients to this place. And then I remember I mentioned to it, and then the guy said, he talked with one of the Patreons or one of the people that work there, the staff, and they thought, well, we could see if we could do something about that. Maybe get me into play, even just for an hour. We used to do stuff like this back up in Illinois at the senior centers. And we would do an hour show, and we were going all over the place, man. And a lot of it was the acoustic guitar, but I would also bring the electric guitar. And some of these people, surprisingly, wanted me to rock out, man. It was like, okay, this is pretty cool. But the point is, I got a chance to play what my heart is really into playing, what I really love to play. So, what happens when you do X amount of these type of shows, whether it's could be corporate gigs, weddings, because you'll get hired because, oh yeah, when you're doing a ceremony, there's specific songs they want to walk down the aisle to. But when it comes to cocktail hour and dinner music, it becomes more of a certain style. They're not really doing song requests. And if your niche is falling into that particular style that they're requesting, well, there you go. And then what always would happen when we would do these gigs, we would always get someone getting our business card and then making contact with us, hiring us, and then other people hiring us. The word of mouth would spread big time. And again, you're to make good money with those gigs. But again, you start to brand yourself because you start to become known for playing a specific style. And if you're writing music and it falls in that style, everything's a win-win. So that is another avenue people could definitely take. I'm going to think there was something else. Let's see, I kind of lost my train of thought there because I got so involved in talking about what those gigs are. You could do farmers markets. You could do art shows. You have to just contact them. If they're not going to hire you as the musician playing all the cover songs, pop songs, whatever their requirement is, then you can find out about what the requirements are for renting a booth. The thing is with renting a booth, and as long as you're not obnoxious and they allow it, if they say no, we already hired people for doing live music. You say, yeah, but I have a booth because I have a music company because this is what we sell. And then if they discuss it, and if okay, as long as you're not, you're not too loud to disrupt the other, booths and the customers and the other businesses, or maybe we can find a spot that's away from the music, but yet you didn't bring 5 Marshall stacks to your booth and you're sitting next door to another booth and you got everything cranking. My amps go on 11. You know what I mean? If you're not obnoxious and loud, then okay. And the reason why I make this point is because now, yeah, you're spending money, and if you have some merchandise to sell, boom, that's good. A little tip jar if they allow it, that's great. But your purpose is to sell your product, your business. This is what I do. What is really unique about the farmers market, and I seen a YouTube channel. I forget who was talking about it. It was an artist talking about doing like farmers markets and art shows. Now with the fine art, I'm gonna talk it from that perspective. What she had said was, when restaurant owners go to farmers markets because they're restaurant owners and they're selling food, so they want to see, geez, can I get a break on here? Geez, for my restaurant, I got a chef I just hired. Let's see if I could find a niche where we have a specialty. Well, that's when they go to farmers markets, and they look for something in particular. And then while they're walking around the farmers market, You have a booth, you're selling your fine art. And they'll look at it and say, gee, that looks kind of nice. You know, I have this one space on the wall, it's kind of bare. You know, that painting or that picture might fit on that wall. Boom, there you go. And then they continue to walk, and then they hear someone playing, let's say, stuff like this. And they're like, ooh, that sounds nice. You know, I'm looking for something to fit the ambience of my restaurant. And then you're there playing this, or let's say you have your electric guitar and a small little amp, and you're playing some jazz stuff, a little bit of fusion stuff, but it's not too obnoxious, or what they call lo-fi music, which I've seen that terminology before. It's really chillaxing music. I kind of like that stuff, man. Actually, I do like that stuff because it's relaxing. It is the perfect music. Well, for instance, this lady that I was watching her channel, watercolor wizardry. She had that in the background, and she likes with the chillaxing music. What's really nice with this is that for dinner hour at a wedding or a corporate event, it works. Certain restaurants that are looking for niches, it works. Because not everybody is looking for a loud band playing all the top hits right away. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're going to have specialty places. And this is where you could fit in. Again, maybe you're not going to get every weekend out of the, month. And maybe you're not going to play out, that much at all. But you will be able to play out. And you're going to make some great contacts playing a certain style of music. Because if you don't like to go to the bars, let's say, you're not the only one. There's other people. So finding those other people like you, chances are the art shows and the farmers markets, you're going to find them. Because they're going to be wandering around. You're not going to please everybody all the time, so don't even worry about that. Another thing is if you're doing...
Michael B says hi.
Hey, Michael B, how you doing, everybody? Sometimes I get my chats come on my screen sometimes. Oh, there he is, Michael B. I hope everything is going well with you, and if you did your trip already, and I hope it was a success, man. You're a great guy and a great musician, man. A lot of our YouTubers out here, you watch them play on their channel. Michael B's one of them, definitely. Old Man Dan's another one. Joe Winch. I know Dave Simpson. He's out in England. When you're not playing your pop music or that, you're playing this type of music that you could tell it's a big part of you. This is what I'm talking about. How you could brand it and how you could sell it. You don't have to do it all the time. And that's even if you want to do it. You don't have to do it all the time, but if you wanted to. Oh, September. Oh, well, hey, I know you could do good, man. Because when I seen and what I heard was this, I was very much impressed, man. Very, very impressed. And the reason why I say that is because when I closed my eyes, the music was taking me somewhere. That's what you got to do, man. Especially if you're an instrumentalist. And you don't have to have superior technique in playing a million miles a minute. You don't have to do it. No, just make the instrument come to life. And I guarantee there's going to be an audience for you. They're out there. But I was going to say about what the flea markets. I said, I don't want to be a flea market guitar player or a farmer's market. Well, then no. But I'm going to tell you right now, your farmers markets, your art shows, your flea market, these people, you could find more people at those than you could see at some of these bars. Now, it's not all the time, but for the vast majority, you're going to see hundreds of people come. If you're there, let's say, for instance, you're doing a farmer's market, and we used to do these at East Peoria. No, not East Peoria, East Dundee, Illinois. As far suburb of Chicago. You know, we'd be playing there. I think we were 8 to 12, 4 hours. You know how many people would go through that area within that 4 hour range? We done some in the Cape Coral. You know how many people are gonna come walking through? You get a lot of repeaters, but you get new people too. You know how many contacts we made? I lost track of count. And the funny thing is, we'd get paid for these. Some of the gigs we wouldn't pay, but for the most part we were getting paid. But we made contacts with people that had money that wanted to hire us. And you know, when you do your festivals, when you're playing some of these bands, it's the same thing. Sometimes they get paid for, a lot of times they don't get paid. But the good thing is, you're out there playing, you're getting that exposure, you're going to have someone that's going to want to hire you. That's the goal right there. And it's, like I said, if you have a specific niche that you do, boom, you're going to be golden, because what you're doing, not everyone else is doing. And that's what a lot of these people look for. That's what a lot of them look for. Oh, with the flea markets, again, you could rent a booth out per day or per weekend or, you know, per month, whatever it is, you know. And again, as long as that you got the okay and everything is cool, you'd be surprised. You'd be real surprised. You could have it set up where every 15 minutes you're doing a show, then you take a half-hour break, and then, I'm not saying every 15 minutes you do a show. Well, you could do that too, you know. Kind of like what we saw when we were in Vegas, in Caesar's Palace, if they still have it, way in the back. They have this aquarium, and then on this aquarium they got these two statues, and then every 15 minutes or so, maybe it was every 20 minutes, these statues would come to life. It was fire and ice. The girl was fire, the guy was ice. I can't remember. It was like brother and sister fighting each other. Mechanical statues. And I think it would be like a 10-minute performance. And it was really cool. So you could take that concept or do like a 15-minute performance in your booth and then 15 minutes off. Talk with some customers. Or you could do it where you do a 15-minute, 15 or 20-minute performance on the top of every hour. And just when you're done playing, you can start, talking with the customers and explaining how you got the idea and what's the story behind what it is you're doing. That's pretty interesting. That's another thing you do. Book a place, book a venue where now you're doing ticket sales, and you could do a performance and I don't want to say a lecture, but a performance and like a story behind what you're doing. Kind of take a person on a journey, and you'd be surprised how well that does work, because the average person, they want to be entertained. They don't just want to be entertained with the hottest song on the radio. See, I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They think they have to go that route because everyone else is going that route, and then it's so saturated. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody. Oh, by the way, I think one of our friends on YouTube, I wrote it down. I think his name is Tim Avon. I can't find it now. Yeah, I know who that is. I seen him before. He's a young guy, in the Nashville area, and he was mentioning about oversaturation in Nashville. Well, he said, well, yeah and no, but basically, he did agree to it, but he said, you just have to work hard. That's all. A lot of people complain because they run out of money. The money is tight. It's always a money issue. It's, very seldom, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's more of a money issue than it is a personality conflict issue or creative conflict issue. You know what I mean? So, with it being a money issue, if it's a personality conflict, then you just, part ways, cordially part ways and be respectful, and, you move on. But the money issue is always going to be there. So instead of putting yourself in these situations that you're, financially stressing yourself, oh my God, I'm getting too old. I thought my ship was going to come. I thought I was going to make it. Try not to think like that. As we get older, we go through different phases of our life. Instead of rejecting it, kind of embrace it, knowing that you're just maturing. You're like fine wine. Fine wine. It matures as it gets older, right? It's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. I mean, when people are, physically sick and that's a different story, and my heart goes out to them. But if you're not in that situation, and you're in a situation where from your point of view, you're looking only at one thing, but you're not seeing the other side of it. Like I said, when we lost our gig, and when everyone lost their gig at Yucatan, it was every weekend we were there. But one door closes, another door opens. 3 hours later, we're talking with the manager over at Diamond Head. And we only were setting up a gig for August the 10th, and now we got another gig August the 3rd. So we're going to be playing there this Saturday and the next Saturday. And then another place, August 25th, a place called Torch. We're going to be playing there. Things happen. And yeah, they could be tough. They could be tough. But I think what makes it tougher, is if you're putting 100% financial stress on that one, item, that one topic, that one thing that you're doing. And now you're hitting the panic button. So I think that's where that really comes from. But the advantage of when you have enough money to do this and you have multiple streams of money, or multiple streams of making money, and you're keeping your day job. So what, man? It's not the end of the world. That's not going to make you a weak person. I'll tell you that right now. Matter of fact, it'll make you stronger. But what the magic behind it is that when you want to do your vision, what you have, this is what you want to do. And, you don't always have to go big. Go within your budget, but you can definitely do it. Again, like I said, rent out a banquet hall or an extra room that they have at a restaurant, and start there. Farmers markets, flea markets, art shows, start there. Because now you're branding yourself for this specific niche. That's if you want to do it. If you want to, play outside. I've run into a few people that said, I don't care. I just want to play in the band. Okay, but then as long as you're honest about it. Because if you're not honest about it and you start going down that road, I don't think you're going to last too long. Because you're going to realize, I don't like this, man. You might start to think, man, I had more fun doing YouTube videos in my room. I don't have to deal with drunks. I don't have to deal with people being obnoxious, playing music I hate listening to, if that's you. If you like doing that, go for it. Absolutely. You're not going to know until you experience it. And there's only one way to experience it, is going out and doing it. It's really that simple. What is interesting when you do music therapy, I remember one of my first, they call them special needs, I don't like using that term, but for the lack of terminology right now, was this young kid, and his mom, I'd go to his house and give him guitar lessons, and just would let him kind of guide things. The reason being is there are certain disorders people have that you cannot force on them. You have to understand that. You have to see where they're going, and then kind of bring what you're there to do, to offer, as you're offering it to them as they're going through, whatever phase at that moment they're going through. And then it's be surprised. You'd be real surprised how well people adapt to it who have those type of issues. So that business is out there, and you could record the music. You know, they were buying CDs now, and you could still make CDs and you know, approach that market and say, listen, this is what I do. I play real soft electronic music or ambient music, whether it's on the guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, whatever, or keyboard, and I'd like to see if I could offer this for you guys, and this is what my fee is, and see where it goes. You know, you could go from anywhere from uh, that market, uh, the visual impaired market, um, people that are in any type of rehabilitation. You approach these and just ask questions. You know, you got to think in terms, what are they going to do? Say no? That's the worst thing that could happen, right? You could even approach daycare centers. Whatever your niche is. See, because not everybody wants to do shred. This is what I mean. There's so many avenues out there that you could approach. That why limit yourself to just one thing? Because it's been such a norm that you go to their bars and you play. You know, there's a lot of horror stories in bars, man. I can tell you that right now. And if you don't like that scene, you're not gonna last in it. Chances are, you're not gonna last in it because you will be the one that's gonna quit because you see what's going on. You know, this is not for you. So, but you know, again, how you brand yourself is that you have something that you like to do. Because again, I'm talking from a performer's point of view, not from the business side of booking. That's another story. But that business side is there, and it's there very positive because now you're finding niche topics to sell. You know, like here, when you go to on like arts and craft shows, this is good because it seems to be a multiple of everything. Everyone's got something to sell, but they got something unique to sell. You see what I mean? So kind of think in terms like that. You got something unique to sell and to offer for a client. And you're getting yourself out there. You're doing what you really love to do. You're not. This is where it's, man. It's like you're golden because you don't have to fake anything. So it's something to think about. It's definitely something to consider. So I gotta trim these when I do trim these there, you know. And another thing, what happens with these type of gigs, you're not gonna get the people to request. You might have one or two of them come up and request something, but for the most part, they're there to see your show. Or if you're a service type musician, and what I mean by that is you offer background music, yeah, they are there for the event. You're not the main event, but you are enhancing that event. And because you're enhancing that event, you're playing what you want to play. If you want to throw in your version of a cover, you do it. If you want to play all of your original music, as long as it's fitting the style of what they are looking for, what the client's looking for. Another thing is, playing wise, like when I'm at Yucatan, I got the waterfront. I try to play to the scene that I'm looking at. Like, you know, like you're a composer and you're watching a movie and you're composing music to fit each scene of that movie. That's kind of the way I look at it for myself. And, you know, again, being an instrumentalist, the guitar does all the talking for me and singing for me. So I don't have to sing. You know, I don't. And that's another thing. People think that if you don't sing, you're not going to get any gigs. If you don't play what's the hottest song on the radio, you're not going to get. You may not get those gigs, but those are not the only gigs that are out there. And again, I emphasize this and I stress this so much because for so long people thought that. So long people have thought that. I know I did. I mean, I knew there was other things out there, but I kind of just, I didn't know how many other things were out there. You know, one of them, I knew, yeah, weddings, but my perception when I was younger, oh yeah, play Here Comes the Bride and all that. And for the most part, it used to be like that, but then things slowly started to branch out. I had no idea about dinner music until I started doing it, or cocktail hour started until I started doing it. A lot of the corporate road shows that we have done were for hire, and it's because they saw my other YouTube channel playing. They're like, "Ooh, I like that. Contact this guy." Boom, there you go. Again, this this is my second chord over. My first one, I gotta still get the tuners fixed now. But this style of playing made me a lot, made Deb and I a lot of money, and got us traveling a lot. And then, of course, incorporating the fusion music. But if you're into rock and metal and shred, like I said, it's not the end of the world for you guys. It isn't. The people, if you always got to think in terms like this, you're not the only person that likes this particular style of music. When you go to the music store and they got all the different guitars, right? Here's a good thing to do. Here's kind of a good thing. There's no more record stores, unless you go to the record section at Best Buy or Walmart. And there's usually nobody there because everyone's getting stuff for free. But if you're at the music store, or if you're at actually, here's a good one, at a used record store, shop that specialty. While you're looking through there, talk with those people. Ask them what they're interested. You can just you tell you what their interest is. Let's say they're in the section of R&B, and let's say that you are doing old school R&B, mixing it with lo-fi, new chillaxing music. Now you start talking to these people, and you start saying, I have this idea. Do you think you ask them this? What are they gonna do? Tell you get out of here, get out of my. You guys say, hey, what do you think? I got this idea, sir or ma'am. I got this idea, and what would you think? Do you think that would be something that you might be in? You don't have to sign up for anything, but I have this idea, and I'm doing research, and I need to find out how many people would be interested in this. You'd be real surprised, man. You'd be real surprised. And it's not just for guitar players or keyboard players. This was a couple years ago. Deb and I were up in St. Pete Beach, and and I had this idea. Not that I'm going to go out and do this, but I had this idea. Excuse me. Let's say you're a drummer. It's really tough for drummers. It doesn't have to be tough for drummers. So if you're drummers out there, it doesn't have to be tough for you. I'm going to tell you what we saw, and then I'll tell you what I was thinking, okay? When we were up in St. Pete Beach, this guy with his acoustic drum set, he had maybe one electronic pad, but then on the side he had his laptop. I couldn't remember if he was able to trigger things. I think he was, but for the most part, he'd pull up a backing track, a popular song, where they took the drums out. Now I know because we used to do this too. There are places, companies online that offer this, and there is a fee you have to pay. But I mean, if you're going to do a specialty type of show, and you need that music, well, boom, there you are. He was out there playing, and he sang. So what he did was he was a solo drummer singing. He had backing tracks, and he was playing at this place. He's playing at quite a few places in St. Pete Beach. And I remember talking with him. I said, dude, this is so cool. I said, I'm a solo guitarist. And, right away he said guitarist or keyboard player. We're always out there gigging. I said, but it was so good to see. I said, because I told him, I knew drummers could do this. I originally, in my mind, thought, well, if you get an electronic drum kit. And, I think they were able to do this where you get the brain or the control pad, where you could program each drum to do like xylophone or different types of things. Kind of like a keyboard. You could hit different things and trigger different things in conjunction if you're going to play with tracks. Boom, there you go. And I know there's a lot of people saying, well, I don't want to play the tracks. Well, then don't. But what I'm saying is if you're in a situation that you feel like, man, I got no, I still want to do this, but I feel like I got nowhere to go. You do have places to go. And one of them, if you don't know, you could, like I said, you could contact senior centers, daycare centers. You know, bring in something if you have music for that, for young kids. If it's conducive for it, why not? You know. But if you feel, or if, let's say, like, again, I mentioned with the shred guitar, because a lot of people like to do that. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. You know, and if you got a full band, then get the guys together and say, hey, why don't we pull our resources together financially? And then we'll contact the banquet hall, whether it's at a hotel or standalone building or wherever, and hey, how much does it cost to rent? We would do our own shows, or like community places, whether it be 55 plus. We were also doing that up in Illinois. I can't remember the name of the place, and it starts with a C, and it slips my mind, because we have another one we're going to be doing Labor Day at Rapola. It's like a retirement community, country clubs, golf course with country clubs or golf course. Before the COVID thing hit, the pandemic hit, I always started selling tickets to play at some of these places, and then it hit, and we had to refund the money because everyone was on lockdown. But you could definitely do it. Just find out what the cost is. And yeah, so you say, well, I'm not going to be a full-time musician. I got to keep my job. But see, again, by doing that, your cost of living is taken care of. Your extra money, instead of buying the blue version of this, and I've got the PRS now, the green or the red version of the same thing. Instead of spending money there, save that money and say, okay, I'm going to use this money to put on a show. Have it in the back of your mind, you could lose. You could take a financial loss. I mean, you're not going to make a profit. You're not even going to break even. Nobody wants that, but you got to have that in the back of your mind in case, so you're prepared for it. Okay? But if you're prepared for that, and this is your goal you want to do, and let's say you like to try this on an annual basis. I know it's kind of tough, but find where your budget is, find those places, and then go for it. You could start to gain traction and start to build up your reputation. And over a course of time, people would say, hey man, let's go check out this guy. Let's go check out Joe, man. He's got this show he's doing, and man, I like what he's doing. He ain't playing at the bars, so this is how he's doing it. And I like what he does. So, win-win, And again, it could be themed based. Here's something you might have noticed. I know I've noticed a lot of places in the area that you guys are at. Have you ever gone by whether it's a restaurant or whether it's a place where they have events, and then all of a sudden trivia night? What exactly is trivia night? I've never been to one. Is it you sit there and as an audience and they talk about movie trivia? Let's say they talk about Star Wars. Well, okay, you got Star Wars fans there. Okay, well if they could do that, you could do the same thing basically with your music. Or another thing is that we thought about this when they would have Comic-Con. And you could find out, hey, do you guys have anything where you have a musician play? If not, okay. Now, I don't want people to take this the wrong way, okay? But again, think creatively. Let's say you have an idea where you're going to do Comic-Con, and you could find out, I need to rent a booth. Okay, you meet all the requirements to rent your booth, right? And you got your insurance and everything, But now, what are you going to do? Okay, well, you could theme your performance as a character with a story and then put on your performance. Whether you sing or whether you don't sing, maybe tell a little story. And when we were doing the Renaissance Fair, the Bristol Renaissance Fair up in Wisconsin, if you think about the Renaissance fairs and the medieval fair, in medieval times, and they got the medieval fest, all kind of the same type. It's an event, it's a show that, for that particular one, you're going back in time, and you're going to see all kinds of things, and you're going to have booths where you could buy swords and medieval mugs and clothing and stuff like that, and it's an event. It's a festival, just specifically for that. So if you want, you can find about renting a booth there. Now, we didn't have to rent a booth. We were like the strolling musician. But we made money there and made a lot of contacts. And yeah, we had to dress up in costume, but it was kind of cool, man. It was all part of it. Kind of like Halloween, If you're into that, it's great, man. It's great because you could build on something, and you could market it as that, you could approach classic car shows. Oh, we have a DJ playing. Okay, how about if I set up a booth? I want to run the booth. Okay, and you tell them that, and as long as it's not conflicting with anything, maybe they'll put you way on the other end. But there you go. If you have merchandise to sell, you can sell your merchandise. Put a tip jar if they allow it. Put the tip jar out there. But one thing you will definitely be doing is making contact with a lot of people. That is that specific niche. If you play shred guitar music, it's kind of cool if you think about with race cars, because shred guitar is music of adventure, right? So everything's moving fast. What do you think race cars do? You could do it even at the RV shows. We used to play at Camping World. I have a very specific niche. Yeah, but they like country and western. Okay, well, then if you're into country playing, but not everyone likes country and western. So when a person is going to think what they think other people like, then you might as well just play at the bars, because that's basically that mindset, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is a niche, that's a need, but it's not the only thing. And that's why I say that. I'm not trying to say this to be negative. I'm saying this to be positive, because there's a lot of people, they think that's the only thing, but they're not into that. So then they think their world's come to an end. They have no hope. It's doom and gloom. It isn't. It really isn't. There's so many opportunities that are out there. It's just a matter of finding them. You might have to finance them, but that's okay. But you could start to build yourself. That's what I mean, called branding yourself. And again, like I said, talking about it from a performer's point of view, this is where you're going to have that upper hand, because find what your interest is, and then, boom, execute it. Go for it. Hey, you might surprise yourself, man. You might surprise yourself. Earlier I did see a video Jimmy Bruno, jazz guitarist Jimmy Bruno, put up in, I guess he's Bruno's online music course. And I didn't know his wife passed away. I guess he's mentioned that real briefly. And I, condolence to him. Sorry that, that happened. Jazz guitarist. But he's been around for a long time. And he's got his niche. And he mentioned something that is very true, what has happened with the music industry. Everything's kind of gone like this. He mentioned when he was playing in Vegas, all the work he was getting. And yeah, there was a time, especially in the 70s, I wasn't playing. I started playing guitar in the 70s. I wasn't playing out those places. I was too young. I graduated high school in 1981. I was 17, so I was in my mid-teens. I was underage. Some places I was able to do a little here and there, but not a whole lot. Because I was underage. But what he's talking about is the respect for the musicianship had gone to the wayside. And again, it's because other things took its place. Other people have other interests and want to be entertained in other ways. So what you do to cure that situation is find your niche market, because think in terms like this. When, let's say, remember all the rock metal clubs we used to have if you're in the Chicago, and whether it's in Chicago or in your area. Remember that whole era? It went to the wayside. We don't see those anymore. But the people are still around. And that's what I mean. Find those people, advertise in the paper. Hey, I got this show. You guys want to come out and check it out? And if you can price the tickets where you would still make a buck, but you're not going to put people, in the poorhouse, because I know it's a bad economy right now. It'll be a win-win for you. And it'll give you that positive push to continue to move forward. So, and again, like I said, you have to like what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not going to have fun doing it. It's just that simple. So, my friends, in closing, I hope this has been somewhat helpful. And there's probably still other areas that I'm unaware of that you could, approach and say, hey, I got this idea. If you're at a rodeo, I got this idea. A theme park, I got this idea. You could just, it doesn't hurt to ask, because all they could do is say no. And then see what your other options are. So, anyways, my friends, I hope this has been helpful. And, always remember, just stay positive. Find the ways that's going to work for you. And you'll do all right, okay? Now, we are going to be hopefully going live Friday. If we don't get rained out, we'll do the art walk downtown Fort Myers. And if it does rain Saturday, we should still be able to do our performance, because the way we're set up is recessed way in the back and the overhang. So it's like the hotel, and then here's the hotel with the other different rooms, and we're at the restaurant on the bottom. So we're recessed way in the back, so we should still be able to do our gig. And there's plenty, if it rains, if people are out by the pool or by the beach, and they're in the hotel resident, visitors, there's plenty of room in the restaurant area they can sit and enjoy the show. If not, they pump the music out there, and then the music travels. They enjoy it one way or another. So we will be streaming live at that gig as well. So, and I'll put the time. Friday, here, let me give you a heads up. Friday, we should be doing, I think it's either 6 to 10 or 5 to 9, something like that, because it is the art walk. So it's a little earlier. Saturday, we're doing 5 to 8. So, we'll be definitely streaming that. Anyways, my friends, I hope this has been helpful, and we'll keep you posted more of these type of realities of gigging. And remember, just ask questions and just see what your options are, and be creative about everything, and you'll do all right, man. You'll do all right. All right, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, you stay strong, safe, and true. Rock and roll, rock on, and God bless. Take care. See you next time.